Welcome to Red Flags versus Green Lights, where we dive deep into the behaviors, patterns, and the energy behind today's hottest stories. In this episode, I'm breaking down the dynamics of delusion, trolling, and gaslighting through the lens of unresolved trauma, narcissism, unhealed wounds, and generational trauma. Today's topic is the ongoing saga involving Queen Naja's past, which seems to resurface time and time again, and the recent interactions between ClarenceNYC and Chris Sails. As a certified PTSD trauma life coach, my goal is to go beyond the surface, uncover the truth behind the behavior, and offer you insights to protect yourself from similar situations. I'll start with the backstory, analyze the key red flags, and dissect the energy that these individuals display. From unresolved trauma to toxic patterns, I'm here to help you spot the signs, understand the mindset behind them, and make informed decisions for your own life. For those of you who've dealt with similar individuals, you know just how exhausting an emotional roller coaster can be. Queen Naja's story reflects the kind of challenges that many of us face when dealing with toxic people, and today I'll be decoding those patterns while offering my feedback and perspective. So grab a seat and let's get into it, because understanding these red flags isn't just entertaining, it's necessary. On today's episode of Red Flags versus Green Lights, we have a few topics we're getting into, which are delusion, trolling, and gaslighting. Before I jump into today's video, I want to share something powerful and special with you. I am excited to introduce our newly dropped merch designed to support your journey of empowerment and transformation. These aren't just products, they are intentional tools created to uplift, inspire, and keep you grounded as you elevate to your higher self. As a trauma life coach, I understand the unique challenges that come with being an empath, and each piece was created with your healing and growth in mind. You are here to rise, and these pieces are designed to help you do just that. So show some love and explore all the amazing creations that I've designed just for you. Explore this collection and show up for yourself with the strength and wisdom that you're destined to embody. And for those seeking to expand spiritually and embark on a deeper journey of awakening, this is your opportunity to step into alignment with your true self through my Patreon at Empath Unplugged for awareness and guidance, linked in the comment section below. Welcome to my channel. It's your girl Chosen One, and welcome to my Empath Point of View. I had to speak on this situation because I thought, ain't no way this generation is this unhealed and in need of inner healing based on the millions of ridiculous and downright delusional comments, which I'll get into at the very end. You get to hear the backstory, as well as my point of view and my perspective as a trauma life coach. I invite you to follow along as I expose and decode the red flags, unpack the toxic energy, and uncover the harsh reality of unresolved and unhealed trauma that continues to wreak havoc even after 7 years. Today's story, it centers on Queen Naja's unfortunate past, which certain individuals insist on dragging into her present. A past that she has worked hard to rise above, while others choose to glorify pain and remain stuck in a cycle of bitterness and dysfunction. Let's dive into the truth behind this behavior and what it reveals about those who refuse to let go. My job as a PTSD trauma life coach is to decipher through the unresolved trauma and the behavior patterns of individuals and bring them to the light so that you can have an informed understanding of their mindset and avoid this for your own life. Anyone who knows or have come across these types of individuals know all too well the up and down roller coaster that I'm sure Queen Naja, myself, and many others can attest to. At the end of this video, I'll share my feedback and commentary, breaking down the key points and exposing the deeper truths behind the actions and the mindsets at play. I'll also dive into the comments to analyze how this generation operates and thinks, uncovering how they contribute to the cycle of toxicity and abuse. Trust me, you don't want to miss this. So Clarence started off guns blazing, and rightfully so. He asked a series of legitimate true or false questions to Chris Sails. Clarence NYC, for those who don't know, is the boyfriend to music sensation Queen Naja. He recently addressed a series of incidents involving Chris Sails that highlight patterns that are associated with narcissistic behavior. His approach was direct and to the point, presenting a series of true or false questions to Chris, each shedding light on troubling dynamics from Queen Naja's past relationships. We'll start with the first one. Did you block me from Queen's phone before she came to visit me in New York? When Queen returned from New York to pick up CJ, did you cry, take her keys, lock her in your car, and drive away speeding, continuing to cry? The last one. When you found out she liked me, did you tell her I would never fall for her because she wasn't attractive? Now, following this, he gave it to him straight by saying, I've been in CJ's life since he was 3. He is now 9. I am in his life more than you. I'm raising him. That right there was the best statement of a lifetime because he not only dropped the mic, he threw it. Of course, Chris went around the serious questions Clarence asked and instead deflected by making jokes, trying to avoid taking accountability or addressing the real issues at hand. This kind of behavior is classic gaslighting, where he attempts to confuse and distract people from seeing the truth. It's really simple. If Chris put the same amount of effort, energy, and attention to his 4 sons the way he has all the time in the world to troll Queen when he sees fit to look for a come up, he would be a way better dad. Now, I'm going to get into some of the red flags in this situation. These questions reflect a troubling pattern of manipulation, emotional abuse, and control. From taking Queen's phone to block communication to belittling her attractiveness, these actions reveal tactics designed to crush her confidence and her self-worth. Clarence's support for Queen in rebuilding her self-worth and confidence demonstrates the critical role a healthy partner plays in helping someone heal from the emotional damage inflicted by a prior toxic relationship or past. I identify these behaviors as clear indicators of narcissistic tendencies, gaslighting, manipulation, emotional dominance, and a complete disregard for accountability. These aren't just harmful habits, they are destructive patterns that leave lasting emotional scars. Recognizing and addressing these red flags is essential not only for healing, but for preventing future entanglements with individuals who exhibit such damaging traits. At another point in the video, Clarence made a powerful statement. He emphasized that blood doesn't necessarily make people closer or more like family. He also expressed that CJ is his son in every way that matters, and he doesn't need credit for stepping up. He also pointed out that, in reality, he doesn't have to do what he does, especially considering how many stepdads don't take on the responsibility of caring for their stepchildren. But for him, it's different. He made it clear, I do it from the heart. This speaks volumes about his character and the genuine love that he has for CJ, showing that true family is built on actions, commitment, and care, and not just biological. Now, here's where I come in. Here's my thoughts from my perspective. Chris has been allowed to get away with this behavior for far too long. His fans, fueled by his narcissistic tendencies, delusional narratives, and blatant hypocrisy, have enabled his toxic actions. It's time to call it what it is. This obsession with the drama and chaos of his past relationship has done nothing but turn subscribers into enablers, glorifying toxic behavior and ignoring the harm it caused. So it seems like many of you are a little bit confused by this classic case of misery loves company. If Queen and Clarence have moved on and built a healthier life, there's no excuse for fans to stay stuck in the past. Clinging to a broken relationship that ended years ago while idolizing content creators without knowing the full truth of what happened behind closed doors is both unhealthy and harmful. My genuine question to the enabling fans is this: who hurt you? This toxic cycle of identifying with the abuser and endlessly defending them in the comment section goes beyond having the common sense that you was born with. It reveals a disturbing mental disconnect from reality as well as truth. And to the fans, you giving him a pass makes you just as bad as the narcissist. My message to you is go heal your daddy issues. Go heal from your childhood trauma. And furthermore, what blows my mind, a woman not taking another woman's side who was publicly abused and humiliated shows your mommy issues. Now let's have a real moment for a second. If you're out here giving him a pass, justifying his actions, or brushing him off as harmless, you're enabling the very behaviors that create cycles of pain. And that makes you just as complicit as the narcissist himself. It's clear that many of the fans are projecting unresolved trauma from their own lives. They've grown so comfortable with and attached to this behavior that they can't see any fault in him, no matter how blatant or frequent his abuse actually has been. It's all public record. So why is this disregard for his actions? It's because this toxic dynamic feels familiar to them. It mirrors what they've witnessed or endured in their own upbringing, and that's just facts. If you are an adult over age 21, it's time to stop making excuses. Stop holding on to what ifs and let these people live their lives. Respect their boundaries, respect their growth, and take a lesson from it. When something ends, you move on. Harping on the past isn't just disrespectful, it's toxic learned behavior. So it's safe to say that you too, my friend, have some unresolved trauma that you haven't healed from or dealt with. That's why you feel so comfortable identifying with this certified lunatic sociopath. Let's normalize leaving the drama behind and focus on our own growth. It's that simple. Now, let's get back on track. In another part of the video, Clarence pointed out that maybe, just maybe, Chris will become a better man when he starts speaking to his son. This was the comment that seemed to set Chris off, prompting him to snap and say, "Don't do that." He then quickly followed up by saying he spoke to his son on the game just the day before, while Clarence was referring to an actual meaningful conversation and connection beyond any virtual interactions. But that just went way over Chris's head, as per usual. Chris then responded by saying, "When your kid has everything he wants, what is there to give him?" So when CJ asked for V-Bucks, he obliged. But Clarence was looking for a more in-depth reply. "So is that all you do for him?" Chris then mentioned that when CJ is with his mom, he's taken care of financially and noted that Queen never asked him for anything. He expressed admiration for that, but failed to see the bigger picture. First off, let's get something clear. Someone who displays narcissistic tendencies such as Chris will never understand empathy or be able to empathize or put themselves in anyone else's shoes. So when you bring them logic, their brain simply doesn't process in that way. This is why when he always says he doesn't understand something, it's because that part of his brain is shut off, literally. So these things that us normal people see and understand, he will never get. And that's unfortunate. Chris openly admitted that he doesn't send Queen any money because she makes more than him. He justified this by saying he doesn't understand why there's an issue. Yet he goes on to say he's not a deadbeat because he gave CJ V-Bucks. And to him, that is financially contributing while CJ is with Queen. But here's the truth. That right there is the very definition of being a deadbeat. You see, when I was younger, growing up in New York, my dad came and got me every Friday, me and my brothers, straight after work, suit on and everything. And he lived an hour away from me, and he did not drive. We would go to Queens, New York, every weekend. And I mean every single weekend. And no, my mother didn't drive either. So he came and made it his business to pick up his children. So when these men out here make excuses, I really don't get it. Like at all. You see, what you fail to realize is that a true father doesn't sit back and wait for the mother to ask for help. They step up and automatically offer support, especially financially when it comes to their child. Then to add a little more insult to injury to the situation, Chris gave a whole speech about not being a deadbeat. Honestly, it was laughable at this point. Let me break this down for you, my brother. A father who is truly present and shares equal responsibility doesn't need to be asked to contribute. It's automatic. They don't just give what's convenient or minimal. They ensure that their child's needs are met and their presence is felt in every aspect of their life, whether it's emotionally, mentally, or financially. Bear with me, I'm trying to stay on track, y'all. In his recent video, Chris once again displayed the same anger issues that have been called out by every last one of his past partners. He threw a water bottle in a fit of frustration, then walked over to the bed and said, "Move over before they see you." This was a clear moment of him trying to hide someone in his room while talking about his ex on a Twitch stream. It's a clear lack of respect he's showing yet in another instance where he displays no regard for the woman he's involved with. It speaks volumes about his behavior and his blatant disrespect for boundaries. Chris openly admitted, as often as he does, that he used Queen for views so he can make money. That's pure narcissism at its finest. He continues to exploit her name and their past for his own gain, all while playing the victim in the very same breath. And then, the cherry on top, Chris said that he wouldn't name the times Queen traumatized him. The hypocrisy is mind blowing. He wants to play the victim while actively perpetuating a toxic cycle that caused the trauma in the first place. It's time for accountability, not deflection. Clarence responded perfectly when he said, "Bro, you look untraumatizable." This is the reality. Chris has caused his own trauma through his decisions and lack of accountability, and it's so clear that he continues to deflect, refusing to take responsibility for his own actions. Instead, he wants to play the victim while disregarding the harm that he has caused Queen. This kind of behavior is manipulative and toxic, and it's important for you to recognize it for what it is, as an attempt to avoid accountability and to keep others believing in a narrative that's simply not true. When Chris tried to spin a narrative by saying he could talk about the times when Queen traumatized him, I called BS immediately. This is a classic tactic used by abusers to shift the blame onto the victim, making them the bad guy in the story. He wants to distract from his own toxic behavior and play the victim, but the truth is, his actions were the cause of her trauma. If you are the one who has inflicted pain, humiliation, and emotional distress on someone else, you do not have the right to claim that you have been traumatized by that person. And that's just what it is. If you go back, Queen Naija made her truth known through her songs Karma, Pretend, as well as Too Much to Say, and several others, where she told the story of her difficult yet tumultuous marriage. Yet, despite the pain that she shares through her music, fans continue to push her to get remarried. It's as if they ignore the lessons she's learned and the healing that she's gone through and continue to go through. Queen shared her side of the story on her channel after meeting Clarence, and her story is one of survival, strength, and resilience. She opened up about how Chris had control over everything. She didn't even have her own personal bank account, and she had to go through him if she wanted money because he had everything in his name. He even took back the Jeep that he brought for her when she went to New York, leaving her stranded and as the mother of his child and his wife. And let's not forget the multiple instances of infidelity when he cheated on her constantly. There was also that sit down video with Lala and Quay, which looked more like a mockery of therapy than anything productive. Despite how degrading and disrespectful that situation was, Queen went with it. But here's the truth: Chris's actions were downright embarrassing, and Queen stayed because at that time her self worth was very low. When they asked him if he would still cheat on her in the future, his response was, "I don't know." And as a husband and father, he publicly humiliated her, making headlines for weeks. And yet some fans still have the audacity to support his behavior. So let's talk about it. Who really saved who? Let me break this down because it's clear. There's a lot of delusional and misplaced support from certain fans who approve of Chris's delusional narrative, claiming that Queen actually saved Clarence. As a trauma life coach, I can't stress this enough. Anyone okay with their ex dragging them for 7 years tells me what kind of men and trauma you have in your own life without me knowing you. This is a classic case of toxic behavior, manipulation, and emotional abuse. Queen was gaslighted and made to feel unworthy, and her self worth took a hit because of someone who was supposed to love and protect her. When I see Clarence, who genuinely loves her and helps her heal, it's such a stark contrast. Clarence didn't just love her, he gave her the space to rediscover herself and regain her confidence. You see, true healing can only happen when the person involved feels safe, respected, and valued. Clarence provided that, and that is why their relationship is still going strong. So, Chris, you're wrong, brother. You messed up. You chose to forfeit your role in the equation so they could meet. They met to save each other. I'm genuinely happy that Queen and Clarence crossed paths because their bond is built on healing and love, and it's evident that they helped each other find peace and growth beyond the toxicity that she endured with her time with you. As Clarence said, they saved each other. But the sad reality is that some fans are so invested in Chris's toxic narrative that they continue to excuse his actions, unable to see the harm that he caused. They support him without recognizing the damage that he's done. And again, that's a reflection of their own unresolved issues and lack of self awareness. And it's heartbreaking to see, but Queen deserves to be celebrated for the strength and courage she has shown in healing from such a traumatic experience that only she knows the depths of. It is so unfortunate that some people project their unresolved daddy issues or past trauma onto others like Clarence. Instead of acknowledging the growth and maturity in his actions, they rather cling to toxic patterns that they are used to, failing to recognize what a healthy, supportive relationship and father figure truly looks like. The reality is, when someone hasn't experienced the type of love, respect, and stability that comes from a good man or father, then it's easy for them to dismiss it and label it as something that they cannot relate to. But Clarence is an example of what true love, respect, and commitment look like, and that's what needs to be recognized and celebrated. At some point in the video, Clarence got serious, making it clear that he's drawing a firm line. He said, "Anytime you say something about my family or Queen, I'm going to step in every single time," and rightfully so. He went on to say, "You've bullied her enough throughout your life and her life. Leave her alone. She's mine now. She's not with you anymore." That's a powerful statement of protection, and it's one that any partner should have for their loved ones. Clarence also touched on something that I believe struck a chord with Chris, even if he didn't respond to it. He said, "I think that's what angers you sometimes, Chris. Starting YouTube was your idea, your dream. This wasn't her dream, but people loved her. And you can't be with somebody that you're in competition with." Let me repeat that. You can't be with somebody that you're in competition with. You see, she's living your dream. You wanted to do YouTube, you wanted to do music, and now she's doing it on a much higher level than you could have ever imagined. Clarence continued to say she doesn't even have to post, and still she gets hundreds of thousands of views because the fans love her. This is the reality that Chris has to face. Queen has transcended beyond his shadow, and no matter how much he tries to push the narrative, her success speaks volumes. It's clear that her talents and growth are undeniable, and it's something Chris just can't seem to accept. Chris thought that if he broke her down and lowered her self worth, she'd diminish and never reach the heights she's clearly capable of. He wanted her to stay so small, stay in the darkness, so he could talk about her, belittle her, and keep her under his control. But as Clarence rightfully said, what can you say about Queen, Chris? She's out here living her truth, thriving, and succeeding on her own terms, something that he never anticipated. Chris, in his delusion, tried to gaslight his fans, so he dug through the archives for the proposal video, as if this will somehow change the narrative at hand. Clarence made a valid point when he mentioned that Queen initially turned Chris down when he first proposed. In the video, anyone with common sense who heard Queen's reaction, it was "Chris, no!" You can clearly hear the confusion and disappointment in her voice. It wasn't a joyous "yes, babe." It was a hesitation at first. It sounded like she didn't know how to respond, like she was trapped in a moment where saying no wasn't an option because of the whole audience that was present. Queen knew what she was enduring with Chris, but out of fear or wanting to avoid further conflict, she said yes to get out of her current living situation back home. This is something that unfortunately many empaths do. They leave one toxic environment in the hopes of escaping it, only to walk straight into another one. I have a video on how empaths often leave home early to escape narcissistic parents or unhealthy situations, only to end up in another toxic relationship, believing that being out of the current environment will somehow heal them. This pattern is all too common and showcases a cycle of emotional dependency and avoidance that leaves empaths vulnerable to exploitation and manipulation. The reality is, Queen said yes, but not out of love, it was out of survival. This moment wasn't about her being ready for marriage, it was about escaping the emotional chaos that she was in. And that's a sad truth that many people fail to see. She was pushed into a situation where she felt like she had no choice. And there was also a baby involved. At the end of the video, Clarence shifted the focus to something more personal. He mentioned he had to wrap up the stream soon because it was a snow day and he and CJ and the kids were about to play outside and make a video. A comment was made calling out Chris for not being able to relate, suggesting he only has roommates and implying a lack of meaningful involvement in his child's life. Clarence ended the video with a powerful message to Queen, expressing his love for her and reaffirming his commitment to being her protector. He also acknowledged that even though she might not always appreciate him responding to negativity as her partner, he's going to stand up for her and their kids. That is commendable. It shows his loyalty, and it's clear that he cares deeply about her well being, even when others try to stir drama or cause unnecessary pain. He also made a valid point by stating that he hasn't said anything in a few years while her ex has been trolling them. This kind of restraint speaks volume about Clarence's maturity and his dedication to creating peace in their lives. And when he finished off by saying he wished people would leave Queen alone and bother him instead, he made it clear that these social media trolls don't truly bother them. The truth is, they've learned to ignore the noise. The Twitter finger trolls want to give a reaction, but Clarence and Queen have been able to rise above it, proving that not everyone's opinion has to affect your peace. At the end of the day, it shows strength when you can block out the unnecessary drama and focus on what truly matters, which is your loved ones and your own growth. Clarence's support for Queen and his ability to stay calm and collected in the face of the negativity speaks volumes about his character and his commitment to creating a healthy environment for their family. From my point of view, it's frustrating for someone like Chris to see that after all he tried to do, Queen is stronger, more empowered, and more successful than ever. He tried to break her down, but instead she built herself back up and went even higher. That's the ultimate payback. Thriving despite the obstacles, and no matter how much he tries to tear her down, her light keeps shining brighter because she has a good soul deep down within, and he took it for granted. As a PTSD trauma life coach, I can tell you that Clarence's words aren't just about defending Queen. They're about standing up for what's right and making it clear that her past, especially the toxic parts, will not define her future as long as he's in her life. And that is exactly how it should be. He's not just playing the role of a supportive partner, he's showing up consistently, taking responsibility, and protecting her peace at all costs, as any man should. Maybe those of you never witnessed that growing up, so I get it why it's hard to relate. You see, a lot of young men could really take notes from him. Clarence's actions have been consistent for 6 years. He's been the one who's been there to keep the biggest smile on Queen's face. She's not sad or down in her videos, and that's the direct result of being in a healthy relationship, one where love is given the right way, without manipulation, without control, or without emotional harm. This is what real love looks like. It's consistent, it is nurturing, and it builds you up rather than break you down. And Clarence has proven that time and time again. That's a lesson in what it means to truly love and support someone in the healthiest way possible. Now, let me wrap this up. The reality is, those fans who don't get it probably can't relate because they never experience what real healthy love looks like. They may be stuck in patterns of toxicity every moment, whether from their own past relationships, and they project their unresolved issues onto what they see with Queen and Clarence. You see, when you've never been shown love in a way that uplifts, supports, and protects your peace, here's my message to you, Chris. You are worried about the wrong things, and that's just facts. Instead of focusing on trolling and stirring up drama, take a hard look at what truly matters, and that is your role as a father. You forfeited your existence and your position in all of your sons' lives the moment you gave their mothers the opportunity to walk away. That was your choice, and it left the door wide open for another man to step in and do what you should have been doing all along. Let's call it what it is. Clarence didn't steal your role, you abandoned it. He assumed the position that you left vacant, and he showed up as a protector, provider, and a positive role model for your son, and that's on you. If you want to be the man that your kids deserve, then it's time to stop playing the little games and the shenanigans that you continuously show on social media and take accountability. Do the work to grow into the father that they can be proud of. It's never too late to heal, but healing starts with you owning up to your mistakes and buffoonery. Until you do that, you'll continue to be stuck in the shadows of what could have been. Focus on bettering yourself instead of tearing others down. It's like your mindset and thought process scream immaturity, It's juvenile to say the least. It's like the elevator doesn't reach the top floor or something. The concept of being an active and present father, something that should be so simple and innate, it does not register with you. That's crazy. And what's even crazier is how you constantly prioritize petty drama over your responsibility. You don't grasp that being a father isn't just about DNA, it's about showing up, being consistent, and being a positive force in all of your kids' lives. That is so crazy. But at some point, you have to wonder if you even care or realize the long term damages that your mindset is causing, not just to yourself, but to your kids. The lack of emotional maturity is glaring and is holding you back from becoming a man and father that you need to be. It's time to grow up, Chris, because this childishness that you choose to display isn't cutting it. The game with your son isn't raising him. Another person said, it's crazy that her baby daddy can act out of control, but as soon as her man steps in, everybody has a problem with it. Hold Chris accountable. He has been a problem for years. Someone else said, nobody dislikes Chris because we like Queen and Clarence. We dislike Chris's choice to troll them for money. It's not him that we don't like, it's his actions. Someone else said, he literally does this BS every year, and every year he gets called out for his constant harassment of Queen. He's hell bent on making her life hell. That dude is a narcissist, and people without children and who have never been married nor have the life experience to speak up on the matter should shut up. Someone else said, I think the problem is Queen is the one that got away, and it's hard for him to get over it, but I don't feel sorry for him at all. Someone else said, the love that Chris is getting on TikTok is ridiculous. These women are rooting for him even when he's wrong, and a lot of them were young when Chris and Queen was together, shaking my damn head. Today I saw a lot of women who were saying Queen needs to run back to him. Someone else said, Chris is sorry every year. Another comment said, him saying Queen has never asked him to pay for anything, that alone is crazy. Another person said, just call her and say, hey, I'm sending some stuff for our son. He can get on a plane and take his behind to see his son. Someone else said, he's not on probation anymore, so what is his excuse for not seeing his son that lives in the same state as him? Another person said, just because she is rich and makes more money does not mean 100% of the financial responsibility should fall on her. Someone else commented, who knows, maybe she will put that money into an account and save it for CJ until he hits 18. She could also use it for allowance for him to earn money for Robux or whatever gaming currency he uses. It's also possible she would tell him she doesn't need it, but to say you don't help out financially because she's rich is not acceptable. Someone else said, Chris, that's because that's what you're supposed to do, despite not being with the mom. Playing video games 1,000 miles away isn't enough. Someone else commented, whether he marries her or not is none of your business. Focus on who is marrying you. The entitlement you people have on her life is weird. Another person said, Queen making more money than Chris has nothing to do with taking care of your child, sir. Someone else said, because he's your son. That's why you should send him money and stop counting the other parent's pocket. Weird. If Chris was active, he wouldn't be so offended by what Clarence is saying. Another person said, people comment about Queen having a ring, but when she had the ring, they were begging her to leave. She had a ring and was unhappy, getting cheated on and abused. She's a millionaire now, happy and living life for her kids, and they still can't be left alone. Now, I'll read one last comment. Someone commented on Chris's response to Clarence when he said, bro should not be worried about me. So you think you can harass people nonstop and they shouldn't say nothing back because you're quote unquote playing. If you feel the need to be worried about a ring, then you should feel the need to be worried about being a father to all four of your kids. Now, I have to agree with that. The moral of the story is there were so many valid points made by sensible individuals who commented and also non-biased reactors to Zoe and Royalty's World who truly understand the importance of respect, dignity, responsibility, and emotional growth. For those who choose to push back against these points, they are often coming from a place of toxicity. These individuals may not know what a good man or father looks like. Let's just be honest here. Because they may not have had that positive example in their own upbringing. And here's my message to you guys. As I said previously, you have some daddy issues that you have to heal, or some childhood wounds that you have yet to address or confront the things that you've been burying most of your life. And let's not forget the deeper layers. If you can't stand with another woman who was publicly mistreated, humiliated, and disrespected, it's likely that you're dealing with some unresolved mommy issues too. So yes, it's safe to say that you got some healing of your own to do before you judge someone and point the finger. And until you face your own inner demons, you're going to keep projecting that same pain onto others. So take this as a challenge and do the work so that you can grow into the best version of yourself. Because the actions that you display for the world to see show that it's time. In my honest opinion, this generation is cooked. Now let's just be real. It's going to take more than just my expertise or perspective to elevate the collective vibration of this society. But hey, somebody's got to do it. Even when it feels like an uphill battle, I'm here for it. New York, I love you. It's your girl, Chosen One, signing out. Be blessed, beware of stress, and most importantly, don't start no mess. I thank you for being here, and I thank you for listening to my empath point of view. Until next time.